Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researchers Celebrity. Today we have Dr. Santanu Majumder with us. Dr. Santanu has done his bachelor's and master's in chemistry from University of Kalyani. For PhD, he attended University of Girona, Spain, where he was awarded the esteemed Erasmus Mundus doctoral scholarship and also was supported with DART doctoral scholarship from German Academic Exchange Services. Then he moved to Texas A&M as a Fulbright Fellow and then got an esteemed postdoctoral fellowship, which is Marie Curie postdoctoral fellowship, and he was there in University of Birmingham for that. And currently, he's a lecturer at Bournemouth University, United Kingdom. With this brief introduction, I would like to say thank you and welcome Dr. Santanu for having this conversation with us as our researcher celebrity.
Thank you so much, first of all, Raja. It's really an honor, I would say. I mean, that you even thought about me being a science celebrity, because I don't know if I am at all. I'm just trying my best to be a scientist first. Forget about being a celebrity. But yeah, as I was telling you before as well, it's so nice to see that somebody has thought about actually celebrating science more than the scientists, I would say, because it's high time we start celebrating science, because nobody's doing that. It sounded so unique. So I just wish you all the best and congratulate you for doing this, and I just wish it grows, forever and
Thank you
gets
so
bigger.
much. Thank you for your kind words. The idea behind having these conversations, and to start with, you just mentioned that people don't feel that they are celebrities. The whole concept behind this series is to celebrate research. And that's how we came up with the name of Researcher Celebrity, because we are, as you mentioned, that we are celebrating science, research, more than the people, because every single experiment done, all the single seconds, minutes, hours you have spent as a researcher should be celebrated. And that is what we do in these conversations. To start with this conversation, let's start. So, we always ask our celebrities that how and when you decided that you wanted to become a researcher.
That's a good question. Where should I start? Obviously, I was growing up in a small little suburb of West Bengal, and normal middle class Bengali family with your, when your mother is just a housemaker and your father is just a normal government employee over there. So there was no history of anybody doing a PhD in my family, that not that I can remember. So there was no motivation as such when growing up. And actually, I was more into football. I was a really avid football player. But yeah, I used to be good in, kind of in my academics as well. But what happens when just go through that those ladder, and then you climb up in the higher education? The pressure from the middle class family is always about getting into academics. So that's what happened to me to start with. So I got into chemistry because I loved chemistry in my 11th and 12th standard. So that relationship kind of started to grow a bit. And then finally, regarding research, I can tell you is there was a major kind of there was a major crossroad in my career in my masters. So what happened in my master's final year, when I was actually involved with master thesis dissertation, as we all do, and the research was about groundwater contamination with arsenic, which is a highly relevant, burning issue in the state of West Bengal, many other countries as well, but including West Bengal. And my university was actually located in the same district, so it was an easier choice for me. What happened that I got involved with that research, and I had to go to different field trips, to get my samples collected from those actually contaminated sites. And that's when I met a lot of people. Those are small little villages, with not much of resources available in terms of at least alternative groundwater, because their groundwater was contaminated. And I met a lot of people And I remember vividly that one day I saw a woman, a normal village woman, carrying her children, um, at the same time, simultaneously carrying about 5 water pots. And when I was chatting with another gentleman, asking, why is she doing that? He said that she will have to walk about a couple of kilometers and then back just to get the water she would need for her family for the entire day. So it kind of stayed with me in my subconscious level. But I finished my master thesis. I came back to the uni, and immediately after that, I got a job. And I got a job in a number one multinational company in the world. I would not name that company. And it was a white collar job, paying me a huge amount of salary back then. I'm talking about almost decades ago now. And I got into that. 2 months into my job, I realized that it's not for me, because I kept on having that picture in my head, and I felt like I'm not contributing enough. The training, the education, the knowledge, whatever I've kind of acquired during my master thesis, I'm not doing justice to that. So in 2 months down the line, I resigned from that job. And then I joined a small little, it was not even a PhD project, but I joined a small little research project, which was a kind of bilateral collaborative project between India and Europe, where I was being paid about 7 times less money than what I was paid in my actual job. But the main thing was that I was happy. I was very happy and I was very motivated. So that kind of told me that, yes, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to pursue somehow. So that was the first indication to me that this is where I belong. And then it started from there, and slowly but gradually I started meeting different researchers from the globe, different parts of the globe. I started learning more. I started to know about what's going on in terms of international research, and that motivated me even further. And that's when I decided, okay, I need to pursue a PhD. And when I was doing my own background research, let's say, about the topic, I realized that there are a few things. I mean, for the best kind of research, there are a few equipments, there are a few resources that I would need that at least India back then could not provide me. None of the institutes, some of them involving the synchrotron facilities. Obviously, it was not there in India. So that's when I started thinking about applying abroad, and I actually applied for the DAD, the DAD fellowship from the German government. Um, I prepared for it so much, and the first year I didn't get it. But yeah, I never lost any hope. I kept on working towards it, and then the next year, the following year, when I actually didn't have much time to prepare for it properly, I got it. And 2 weeks time after that, let's say I received the dud the positive feedback from dud, and then 2 weeks after that I got a positive feedback for my Erasmus as well. So in 2 weeks time I have two different fellowships being offered to me to go to Europe and pursue my PhD, which was my dream. And yeah, that's where the everything changed. My life, my philosophy of about research and everything. And maybe I'll just talk about, because I don't want to give you a long answer for your first question. But yeah, that's where it's all started, let's say.
I think this is perfectly now you laid this path for a conversation, and I would like to say this to all of our audiences here who are listening to this conversation, that the things which Dr. Santanu mentioned about things like you should consider before admitting yourself to PhD. Like, what are the infrastructure and the resources you need for your doctoral research? That is the most important part. As Dr. Santanu mentioned, that at that point of time it was not available in India. So the motivation was to look for the places where he can have all the basic infrastructure or advanced resources which are required to do, or to answer his research question. That is a great start to have. Now, when you mentioned about, that you prepared more for the first year and less for the second year, but that's when you got it. How in research we always say that the theory of that the stone breaks at the 100th stroke because there were 99 were done. So this is for the audience that so never get disheartened, and being a researcher, that is one, I say, is required quality that you have to have, because you are bound to so many failures during the journey of this research, that you always have to have your head high, and then approach those problems with the positive mindedness. So now, okay, you got the good news, two fellowship in 2 weeks. Now the real thing starts when you have to move countries. How did that go, and the program which you attended?
Yeah, that's very interesting question as well. But before that, because you just mentioned and taking a cue from what you have just mentioned, you just mentioned about failure. And because I think our potential audiences are, many of them are actually young budding scientists and researchers who wants to pursue research and PhD and postdoctoral fellowships or whatever, I think it's very important for them. So one of my lectures in the UK, which is one of my most popular lectures. So I get invited to different universities here, not only my own university, but for early career researchers, they invite me to these early career symposiums or conferences, and they ask me to give this talk. And it is very popular here. Why? Because the title itself of the talk is Failure, My Best Friend. I think that is something we need to talk about, especially when it comes to early career researchers. What happens is through these different platforms, or whenever these early budding researchers, they look into our web pages and all those things, they see our achievements, they see our papers, projects, number of students, size of the group, etc., etc. We never really talk about what it actually takes to create that profile. So it's very important that any one of you, if you're looking into my web page, and if you're looking into all those years and the achievements I have achieved during those years, you have to think about it or imagine as a table where many of those rows are missing. And those rows are the years where I tried and attempted before I actually achieved anything at a certain point of time. We miss those rows of failures. That's very important. So, for example, as you mentioned, with DARD, it happened. It also happened later on with my Marie Curie fellowship. Okay. When I was in the US with my Fulbright fellowship, I started applying immediately, but I didn't get it immediately. It took me about 2 to 3 attempts to get Marie Curie. But again, I kept trying. So my point is, this is so important to understand, and it comes. I mean, it's not only about achieving a postdoctoral fellowship or a PhD fellowship. It's also about, let's say, a paper. And I will get to that now. So it's related to your second question. So yes, I got these fellowships. I decided to move to Girona. First, I was supposed to go to Germany in KIT, in Cultural Institute of Technology, but then I got the Erasmus, so I actually decided to move to University of Girona. The reason being, obviously, the fellowships were higher. That's very important because you have to sustain life. It's good to have a solid, sound mental health. You don't have to think about your finances much. So yeah, that was the first reason. The second reason was obviously the research group is kind of more relevant to what I wanted to do. So I got attracted to that research group as well. Now I came to Girona, and again, talking about setbacks, the first thing happened 2 months into my PhD was my principal supervisor, whom I actually joined, she was sacked. Okay, so I lost my supervisor in 2 months of me, in Europe, in the land of Europe, where it's completely, everything is unknown to me. Obviously, for the first time, I was getting out of my country. For the first time, I was getting out of my state and leave somewhere, um, Everything is different. I never learned how to cook, and all those challenges, don't even think about it. So, those challenges will come along, as we all know. But more than that, I lost my supervisor, and it was a huge setback, obviously, because now I will have to find another supervisor all over again. So I have to start from scratch. So I somehow managed to do that. Obviously, my previous supervisor helped me with that as well. And I, managed to have another supervisor, and then I started, thinking about my research. I started doing my literature survey and all those things. And finally, I decided about a topic. The first paper that I believed, obviously based on the research I have done for about a year, the first paper I thought it's a nature worthy paper. I think most of us do think like that. It got rejected not once, not twice, 8 times. 8 rejections, the first paper. Obviously, I was completely shattered because my fellowship was only for 3.5 years. So I had to finish my PhD, and the criteria to get a PhD, not even to get a PhD, but to submit the thesis in Girona, was that you have to have two papers accepted, two Q1 journal papers accepted, and one submitted at least. So obviously, in 1 year, I worked hard. I submitted my first paper. It got rejected again and again. And finally, I had to decide to submit to a book chapter. Okay, so not a good start. Uh, I was completely clueless, helpless what to do. What happened in next 2.5 years, I actually managed to publish about 3 to 4 more papers. Okay, and in quite high impact journals, most of them. So, and they are being well cited now as well. So again, going back to what we were discussing, failures are going to come back to you every now and then, and they will teach you something. Success will make you arrogant. Failure is going to make you humble, and it's the best teacher. That's why it is your best friend. That's what I have learned throughout my life, because I have failed and failed and failed many times in my life, not once, not twice, but I survived. Yes, the main important takeaway message from that is you cannot just brush off failure and move forward. You have to learn. You have to take the learnings of what went wrong and then try to fix it for your next attempt. Okay, so that's what I did. So yeah, I mean that's how my PhD journey started. I actually during my PhD I actually visited so many different institutions and countries. It's pretty flexible in Europe, so it's everybody is open to collaborations and cooperation. I actually managed to receive two best presentation award, student presentation award in two different reputed international journals, international conferences. That helped me a lot. As one in Italy, one was in Australia. That helped me a lot as a early career student researcher. The other important thing, it more made me very independent, very independent, because obviously it's not only professionally but also personally, because I was living on my own. I learned every bit of skills that is needed to sustain life in an alien country for the first time, and then obviously professional independence as well. And one thing that helped me, and that's the philosophy that I follow even till date with my own students, the group I joined, trust me, except me and one or two, maybe another guy as well, only three of us, 2 to 3 of us were male in that group. Every other person, be it a PhD student, be it a postdoc, be it all the faculties involved, because that was a research group involving, in Europe, it's very common that, unlike in the US, here you have research groups involving different faculties, faculty members. So they have quite a few professors, assistant professors, associate professors involved in the same group. So except those 2 or 3 of us, all of them were female, including my own supervisor. So what happened? I'm not saying I was a male chauvinist before coming to Europe. I was pretty kind of sensible, but it made me respect women in STEM a lot more. Because I could see how hard they can work from a very close proximity. That's one thing. The other thing is the amount of pastoral care that I received. That was the thing that was completely missing throughout my life, most of my life in higher education back in India. That was something we can never expect. I think even today, I'm not saying everywhere, there could be exceptions, and I know there are exceptions. I know some of my colleagues who are not like that, but you know how, at least in research, students and early career researchers are being exploited and not really given the proper pastoral care, provided mental health support, and all those things. Those are alien words for me. What is pastoral care in research? What is mental health support in research? I've never even heard of it. And that's what I learned when I started working in Europe with my research group. I remember one certain day I had to change my apartment very early in the morning, and I never used to drive. Um, and my supervisor, who is a lady in her 60s, she actually asked me whether I need help, that then she can come over and drive me to my new apartment. Just that offer softened me up so much that so yeah, that's something I learned, apart from learning professional or personal skills. And I still did, I follow that with my students, that it's very important that you take care of your students, of your scholars. That's something they need, because they struggle, they go through so much. We all know, when we are researchers, there are so many things which are not under our control, so many, that your lab results, even after passing about weeks and months on a single experiment, they can go wrong. You're thinking about an idea, and suddenly you got to know somebody else has already started working on it. So many different challenges. Then your family is living far away from yourself, and there's somebody is sick, and you have to call them, but you're not getting time to call them. And back in those days, it was even harder, because that smartphones and these things were not even there. It was only Skype. I remember that even Skype came a few months later. But yeah, those are the hardships that we go through. So it's so important for supervisors, as academicians, we should understand that it's not the end of our job. When we are done with our PhD and postdoc, now we are in a position, and let's start having fun. We have to also understand that they need those fun as well. They need a bit of relaxation. They need a bit of their own time, and we must offer them, which is not a case always. So that's something I learned quite a lot during my PhD. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think these are the things and issues which we try to talk here about the mental health issues in the PhD scholars. Actually, if we see that this never changes, it gets worse once you have your position, because now you have responsibility of your students, your grants, and then that vicious cycle. You write a grant, you do the research, you communicate the findings, you submit it, revise it, publish it, again start for another funding. So this
Yeah.
never ends and it gets worse and worse. And we have seen some of the professors are so stressed. And as you can see that some of the PhD students are also stressed. So one of the things which we try to talk here is, like all the failures, you said that, okay, perseverance is the key. They are inevitable, they will always come. You just have to persevere there and then just stay there and try to figure out your way, which you did great. For early careers, let's talk about this, that how they should navigate their path from before finishing their PhD, because what has been seen and is happening all around the world, that after spending 2, 3, 4 years in, depending on which part of country we are doing the research, people are taking uh, step backs, quitting on their PhDs, and in the worst case scenario, there are suicides committed by students. How we should approach that? Because yes, now we started talking about mental health globally, India included, but still things are happening. According to you, or based on your experience, whatever you have seen, how you mentor, what you can suggest to our researchers who are struggling or are going through that patch right now?
Yeah, that's very, very important to discuss. That's something we have to keep on discussing. The mental health issues and everything. So Good thing is one of our recently granted project is also about that. So we are actually studying different students, especially coming from different countries, and we're trying to understand different kinds of biomarkers of their stress due to environmental factors, due to societal influences, and all those things, career challenges, etc. We're trying to measure cortisol levels and all those things as a biomarker. So that's actually helping me a lot more to understand in detail, because obviously I'm talking to more people, I'm interviewing more people, going through the questionnaire survey about what the challenges they're facing. So yeah, it's very important. Now, the very first thing, and it's not actually about before finishing the PhD, what I would say, even before you decide that you whether you want to pursue a PhD or not, please double think. You have to think about so many things. The first thing is whether you actually want to do it, whether you have got you've got it inside your belly, that passion, that fire. Because PhD is something that asks nothing but that fire. If you do not have that fire, you might still manage to do it, but the only problem would be you will not be satisfied, you will not be happy, you will not be motivated to pursue further. So that's something they all need to think very first. Okay, if you like a 9 to 5 job, please go into it early. Okay, I can give you my own example. In my own family, I have my wife who started her PhD, and in a few months she decided that that's not for her, and she left it, she quit it, and then she got into job, a normal job, and she's happy. On the other hand, I mentioned that to you already, that I quit my job to get into PhD. So that's the decision you must take even before deciding to get into a PhD. Now, once you are in, and let's consider here that you all have got that fire in your belly, that you can act, you just passionate, you want to, just mash research. Great. Now, the next thing is, once you are in a fight, you are in a battle, and only the strong, they battle these kind of warships. Why I say so? When I say strong, I do not mean to hear that they are mentally or physically strong. Not like that. When I say strong, they're strong enough to actually wriggle through it. I always say the PhD is the battlefield for the tortoises and not the rabbit. You remember the story of the race between the rabbit and the tortoise. If you are the tortoise, you will triumph in this battle. So you have to consider yourself as the tortoise. If you can do amazing research, run faster, great, bonus. Even if you can't do that, there will be different stumble blocks. There will be different obstacles. There will be different challenges, and you will be exposed to all of them. But if you just can keep on moving and can keep telling yourself that no matter what, I will finish it because I have chose to be in this profession. I've chosen to be. So you cannot blame anybody else. That's the first thing. Okay, you do great, achievements are yours. You fail, onus is again on yourself. So don't blame anybody else. Yes, I understand that there could be circumstantial or situational challenges which you are not responsible of. That's fine, but then you have to fix it. It's on you, and you can, and trust me when I say this, you can always fix it. All you need to do is to have a plan in store for every kind of situation. So you have a plan A, it's not working. What about your plan B? Have you got a plan B for yourself or not? Simplest example, a paper is not getting published, it's getting rejected. Rethink, reevaluate your paper, whether it's worthy enough to go into a journal, or you can just publish it in a book chapter. Because you never know, maybe that book chapter later on will get more citations than a normal published paper. Nobody can tell you that. So you have to be the best judge, the best critique of yourself as well, your own work. So having a plan B is very, very important. Plan B, plan C, even if needed. Okay. So you cannot just come with one single plan and say, oh, that will succeed. No, it's never going to happen. It's such an uncertain domain in your professional life that nobody can guarantee you anything. So that's one thing you have to think about. The other thing is networking. Very, very, everybody, I know everyone keeps talking about it. like any other field, networking is very important. If you are an introvert, kill yourself to get out of your shell and talk to people. Because if you don't talk to people, they, obviously you are not going to have their ideas or piece of their mind, but more importantly, they will never know about you. And that's your loss. Okay, so you are at loss if you can't do that. Okay, you are introvert, doesn't matter, doesn't no, nobody will care. You have to talk about your research, you have to present your work. So next comes communication skills. It's very important to have really proper communication skills. Actually, the best kind of PhD researchers are them who can actually or easily switch to a marketing job. That's what I tell my students. If you're good in a marketing job, then you can be a good PhD researcher. Why? Because you have to sell your ideas. When you are writing for a grant, you might have the best of ideas in this world. But are you pitching it properly? Are you selling it to the right audience with the right kind of, as we call it, what do you call it, the USPs, the unique selling points? Do you even know what are the unique selling points? So these are the things we have to think about. It's not always about whether a polycyclic ring is going to react with the help of this catalyst to give you your desired product. It's not about all the time thinking about that. It's about how you design those results, how you design your own ideas, and then present it to the world to know about it. So sell yourself, sell your ideas. That's very important. Too many people, too many PhD scholars are there. Why only few are actually succeeding or achieving? It's because they know exactly where they should start talking about their own ideas and sell it to the right person. So these are the main things we all have to think about. Most cases, what happens, what I have seen with students, and especially with mental health, is they get a failure because they do not have any other plan. They start to sink in because they don't know what to do after that. If you always think about a plan B and plan C, then you would know that, okay, that didn't work, fine. Maybe not the ideal scenario for me. What about plan B now? Let's try with that. You never know, your plan C might work at the end. And one last thing is, it's very important. We I'm not saying in life in general, none of us are perfect, but I'm saying in terms of the research you are carrying out, be very honest and be very transparent about sharing them. Okay, there is no harm if anything something has gone wrong. Ask somebody, ask for help. There's so many people in this world always there to help you with. Okay, but be very transparent and honest about your research. Don't try and kind of cover up your results or your research with something, because at the end, in the long term, it's not going to work. Maybe in short term it might give you some benefits, but in long term you are going to suffer, and that would be even more dangerous. So that's something I would say it's very important to keep in mind. But yeah, overall, these are the things I would say for mental health. You have to be, so to summarize, first of all, decide beforehand whether you want to get into this battle. Number two, once you're in the battle, you cannot back off. If you are backing off, then it's your fault. Nobody else should be blamed. Not your parents, not your girlfriend, not your family, not your supervisors, nobody. Because nobody have asked you to do this. It was your choice. Number three, while you are in the battle, do not just fight the battle with one, let's say, one arm. Okay, have a sword, have a knife as well at the same time, in case the rifle goes wrong. And fourth is, be very honest, be passionately honest and transparent while you are actually fighting that battle. Okay, that will help you. You might get a few blows while you're battling initially because you are very honest with your results and your research, but that's fine, take those blows, but in the long term you will win. But if you don't do that, then there might be some major problems waiting for you going forward. So yeah, these are the things
I
I
think
might suggest.
great points raised, Dr. Santanu. And I would like just to say this to all the audience here, which I believe most of us are first generation PhDs, coming from Dr. Santanu, that how research, he found that research was his calling. He got a job in India, and I believe in worldwide. That's how it goes, that your parents or even you, everyone is looking for you to get a stable job so that you can have moderate or plenty of money so that you can enjoy the life. But what makes you happy is even more important. In case of Dr. Santanu, research was the thing which made him resign his highly paid job, white collar job, within 2 months because he thought that he does not belong there. He have things to do in life which will make him happy, might be slightly underpaid, highly underpaid. What matters the most for him is at the end of the day when he goes to bed, he's happy that it was a productive day. Coming back to the researchers' everyday life, there might be nights when you are unable to sleep because of those failed experiments, when troubleshooting is going inside your head, even when you are sleeping. You might have dreams of your experiments. I can say for myself and for the conversation which I had with celebrities that they do have dreams of their projects. They do have dreams of their failed experiments, and sometimes they get solution there. Sure, might not be for you, but what is more important, Dr. Santanu pointed this that before committing to PhD, think 10 times. But once you are there, be ready to give your 200% because that's what research needs out of you. You cannot be just giving your 100%. And when I say 200% means the area of networking when comes in. You think that you are not the expert of this because that's why you are doing PhD. There are experts already there. You network with them, you go tell them your problem, they give you the solution. And that's why I said 200. You can say 1000%. Sometimes you need more than couple of people to help you to overcome those challenges. And yes, honesty and integrity, they are inevitable. There are cases now when people are retracting their papers because they identified that somebody has a student might have in the pressure of submitting their PhD have done something, but the moment the PI realized that something was not proper in that paper, they retracted, and that is part of honesty. But if someone has to, like one group saying or commenting on the work of another group and saying that this is not reproducible, then they have to retract again. Without going into too much of details into it, honesty and integrity is what should be the life motto of everyone. But once you are a researcher, you have this extra burden on your shoulder that the day you publish a paper, your name at all, okay, rest of the world, they are going to take your words as a faith and then they will start working on it. There might be brilliant ideas, research, products, or services coming out of your paper. But if you were not honest in your thing, it is going to harm rest of the world big time because they are going to spend their time, resources, and everything. With this, so we'll ask Dr. Santanu about the word of wisdom that how the researchers, you have said so much. At the edge of this conversation, I would like to know the word of wisdom for all the researchers in different stages of their life.
I mean, I don't know if I'm wise enough to give like offer a word of wisdom at all. But what we are talking about, I think it's also important, and it goes for the mental health scenario as well, is that have a good life as well. You know, at any stage of your career, it's very work-life balance. I know there are few big shots now. They're talking about actually rubbishing the word itself, but I am completely in favor of that. At least with my students in my group, I try and maintain that nobody comes to the lab on Saturdays, on Sundays, and nobody works after 6, and nobody is forced to work after 6 on weekdays. Sometimes they obviously, a reaction is going on, so obviously they will have to stay back. But yeah, nobody's being forced. It's good. It's very important to have your own life outside the lab or outside your research. Make friends, go to parties. That's your right age. You are into, let's say, mid 20s, end 20s, like so. It's very important that you uh, go play football, go play whatever, cricket, or whatever you want to do. If you like music, get into that. you know those are the things we tend to miss in while following this entire rush for research. But it's important that we actually have our own life that will help your mental health as well at the same time. And not only that, you never know, some ideas from here and there, or talking to some of your friends, can actually give you a light bulb moment. Who knows? And that might be helpful for your own research, because you can learn anything at any stage of your life from anybody. So that's why you need to meet more people, go out and do things like that. Now, in terms of, if you're a PhD student, then I would say that it's your kind of, you're spending your life in a guru griha, how you call it. It's, so think like that. You are highly passionate, you are devoted, a bit of discipline is required, and then more importantly is you have to show a bit of productivity as well. It's a sad thing, but it's a brutal world. So many PhD students are there. You have to be factual, you have to be like realistic with your career. So a bit of productivity is always helpful, so that you can actually use them in your CV and apply for future research, be it postdoctoral research or anything else. So these are the things that you have to kind of focus on. I'm not saying, when I say productive research, it's not always about impact factor. I never really push for publishing in high impact factor journals. It's more important that your research has to be fundamentally, in a way, fundamentally crucial for your domain of research. It should give something to the audience. It should give something new to the research community that you belong to, or your paper belongs to. So that's something, I would always push when you are a PhD student. I have seen PhD student with just one paper in 4 years, but then end up getting a really good postdoctoral offer from one of the big universities. So it's always about that. It's never about number of papers or the impact factor. It's always about the quality. What are you offering through that paper? At the end, what is the take home message? Are you fundamentally changing or proposing something which is game changing? That is something I would say is very important when you are a PhD student. And for that, you need to, and always be open to collaborate and cooperate. That's why, don't keep your research to yourself. Oh, somebody is going to snatch it away. No, please don't do that. Okay, it's very important that you share, and then you take help from others as well. You also offer help to others if they need it. What I mean, it would help you to get more papers, first of all. That's very important. You will be, even if you are the last author on that paper, you have contributed, because obviously you have to mention at the end what were your contributions. If nothing, if you have just reviewed somebody else's paper, even then you will learn something from that. Okay, you will get to have or gather new information. So always be open to cooperation and collaboration. That's very important. That's how the whole world is moving forward or moving towards. And then think about research. That would be one suggestion, and this is for postdoc and PhD both, or any other early career researcher. I would say, uh, try and do something which is for the community, which is for the general community. It's great that you have synthesized a molecule in a lab, or you have synthesized a cure to a disease in a lab, but try and take that idea to the market, to the population in the society. That human touch. Okay, I think we call it, these days we call it the human profile research, something like that. That is so important. And that the whole world is actually moving toward, even the sustainable, the SDG goals, they also actually try and inspire all of us to move toward that direction. So that's why it's very important that when you are thinking of an idea, it could be a small little idea for a small little research within your overall goal, or it could be the actual research proposal you are writing for a grant. But because I'm also part of a few panels, and I receive a lot of different grant applications, and I also look for them, because the criteria comes to us is actually asking for those things, so we know what is required. Try and involve industries in your research. Try and involve social scientists. They are very neglected, but they are one of the best people to work with if you really think about it. Try and involve policymakers, stakeholders. If you're working towards, let's say, agricultural science or anything in agriculture, let's say sustainable agriculture, for example, try and involve the farmers. What we tend to do, I'll take that small example here, is we think of an idea, we publish it, we get a patent for that, and then we try and go back to the farmers and try and convince them, what, this is what you need, this is what you require, even without asking them in the beginning whether they need it at all. So do it the other way around. That's why involve the stakeholders. Go to the farmers, ask them what they require, what are the challenges they're facing, and then come back to your lab, think about your ideas sitting on your desk. Okay, do the other way around. Okay, so that's something is very important. If your research is designed in that mold, then you will get a lot of let's say positive outcome in terms of achieving something. I'm not saying I'm always doing it, or I'm trying to do it always, but I'm saying I'm not always successful while trying to do that, but I'm trying. So yeah, you will not succeed all the time, but give it a try. Keep trying. That's something I would suggest.
I think that's a great, and this is what wisdom is, telling them that start working with the community instead of going later on and telling them that what they need. It is better to start off with that what they need and how we can meet their needs so that we and our research can be more helpful. These were great points, what shared in this conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Santanu. And I will say to all the audience that if you want to write to Dr. Santanu, with this conversation, you might have been already acknowledged this, that he's a great mentor, open for
I'm trying to.
networking,
I'm
okay?
trying to.
Open for networking, collaborating. So if you want to write to him for any advice, or if you want Empowering Science Foundation to put you in touch with our researcher celebrities, we are there to help you. The only thing which we ask from you is do whatever makes you happy. If research happens to be one of them, we are there to take you wherever you want to go with our team. With this, we'll say for the audience, stay connected for another episode of Researcher Celebrity. And to Dr. Santanu, thank you so much for taking
Thank you.
time out for this conversation.
Thank you. Pleasure was mine. Thank you. Have a good day.